Hey everyone, Walt here, back out in the shed working on the Brumby. Obviously I came to a grinding halt at the back end last week and I'm still waiting on parts, so I can't progress there. But the project's got to keep going, so we're switching to the front end and working on the suspension and brakes at the front. And the first piece of the puzzle will be this guy. So he is the front strut assembly of a 98 to 2001 Legacy. Key things for us. He has the correct bolt pattern at the bottom to accept our Outback upright. He also has a lower diameter or smaller diameter top ring on the spring, which gives us more clearance in the guard. And overall, he is the correct length for the Brumby. So all of that is positive. The negative about this strut is, like all modern Subaru stuff, he has a 3-bolt top hat, whereas the Brumby has a 2-bolt top hat. So I'm going to have to change that over. That'll be fun. That's not a job I've ever done before. But anyway, we shall give it a go. So at the bottom, as mentioned, there's our outhouse front upright. And obviously we know that's going to take our disc rotor and the disc caliper because it's all off the same car. Right, so while we do have the correct bolt pattern at the top to go into our Legacy strut here, what we have at the bottom, this taper on the ball joint, that's a 10-degree taper, again like all modern Subarus. The problem is, this is our lower control arm off the Brumby, and he uses a 7-degree taper, but got a plan for that too. What we've got here, new tool day, don't you love it, is a reamer. So this is a ball joint reamer designed to do this very job, basically mounted in a drill, very carefully drill down there, and that will re-angle our taper inside here from 7 degrees to 10 degrees, which will allow us to mount this, which will allow us to mount our big brakes and allow us to mount that. So there's a little bit involved in this today, but hopefully, and I know I say this every week, hopefully this won't take me too long and I'll just be able to crack on and get everything done and dusted. That's the theory. Let's see how practice goes, eh? Okay, so obviously I've already got the lower control arm out, and I think I might as well start by getting the brake disconnected, the brake line. I've got a drain tray underneath there just to catch any fluid that comes out. Hopefully shouldn't be too much, but there's bound to be a few drops. In fact, there's the first few drops already. I don't want to lose the bits off the banjo bolt. Oh, that's a useless zip tie, isn't it? He's got no clicky. Let me grab another one. Ah, there we go. This one clicks. Okay, let's just secure him so he can't come off. Yeah, that's a pain in the butt. The brake line runs through the strut at the back there. Doesn't just unclip. Wah wah. It's going to be the easiest way to do that. I'll probably undo this. And yep, the banjo bolt fits through the hole, so that was the easy option. Ooh, nope, not that one. Try this guy. That was easy because I've already got the lower control arm out. That stabilizer is out the way, I've disconnected that, the brake hose is off. That was actually quicker than I thought it was going to be. All I've got to do is the 2 bolts on the top and he should basically fall out. I suppose the beauty of all this is I don't actually need to take too much apart because the bottom of the strut assembly is not being reused at all. So yeah, this is nice and quick and easy so far. The downside to that approach is the strut's actually very heavy. That was more weight than I was expecting. Okay, I have to admit, I'm kind of curious now to see how much this guy actually weighs in comparison to what we're going to be putting on there. To be fair, this is the strut, the upright, the caliper, and the discs, so it is the complete assembly. 23.3. Might have to weigh these individually. 7.1. 8.3. And last but not least, the rotor and the caliper, 12. 27.4. Okay, so basically we're going up by about 4 kilos per corner. I think that's a worthwhile sacrifice for what we're gaining in terms of way better suspension and far superior brakes. So yeah, on we go. Okay, so here's the issue we have. This control arm, when it mounts in place on the Brumby one, solid as a rock. But when we put it on the outhouse one, wiggle, 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 and in fact it doesn't even go all the way down. So it definitely needs to be bored out a little bit. Yeah, which is interesting because, yeah, that's the nut off that one. Even the castle nut at the bottom is interchangeable. So why they change from one taper to the other, I'm not too sure. And it looks like a lot of modern cars use the 7 degree rather than the 10, almost like Subaru is a bit of an outlier there, I don't know, but anyway. Okay, I'm thinking for this job I'll start at the top and work my way down. So that means we've got to change over these top hats. So as you can see, the original Brumby has this 2-bolt, which is actually really stiff. And the EJ series uses the 3-bolt. So yeah, let's get that guy swapped over. I've got bearings to go in this when he goes on there, so hopefully that's going to give us a nice smooth rotation there, which will make the steering a little bit lighter. That's always good. Now these do have a lot of power in them. I mean, these springs are designed to hold up a car. So yeah, I've never changed these over, but I've brought a spring compressor set. Now there's a few different options out there. I wish I had the budget and the space to be able to get one of the big hydraulic ones, because they clamp the whole assembly and hold everything firm while you compress the springs to get the pressure off and remove the top hat. I don't have the budget for that, so there's a couple of other types. You can get ones that just hook on here and you just wind them up with an impact gun or something like that. They seem to be the most common, but I've gone for this type because, to my layman's brain, the fact that these guys kind of clamp over the spring itself with jaws seems like it's more likely to stay put while it's got all that pressure on it. And it also comes with this little brace. I don't know if it's going to do much, but the theory is that this connects the two spring compressors together. This particular kit even came with a lovely set of gloves, which are perfect size if you wanted your kid to do the job, but there's no way those are going to fit me, so throw those away and just crack on with it, I suppose. Okay, it would have been nice if these came with instructions, but I've assembled it what appears to be the only way that it'll go together, and I will just be using a ratcheting spanner to tighten it up and just go gently and make sure I get both sides a relatively even tension, I suppose, as I go. Careful not to put my finger anywhere it can get jammed, but I think that is ready to go. There we go. I might stand off to one side. Yeah, that feels like it's loose. I think I'm okay. But yeah, as you can tell, I'm pretty nervous about this. There's our bolt. And there's the top hat that we need. That's what we're after. Now I just got to let this off without killing myself. Yeah, hopefully that gives you a bit of an indication as to how much the spring is actually under compression, even when it's just sitting there. And you see where this sits, down there. So the spring is already compressed by about that much. Subaru do a kit which comprises of a little bearing to go on top of the EJ strut and a dust seal to keep it clean. So I'm just following their instructions, and I've got to file this guy out. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but he's not actually perfectly round. There's a tab or something in there, whatever you want to call it, and I've got to get rid of that. Now they say drill or file. I think I'm just going to carefully go with a rat's tail file and round that out, and it's got to be precisely 12mm. So I think rather than trying to drill it out, I will use a drill, but only as a guide to let me know when I'm round and when it's 12mm. So yeah, let's give this a go, eh? And there we have it. Easy as that. Okay, so I'll just clean the filings and stuff out of here. I've already given the outer case a little bit of a clean, but I might just give them a quick little hit with the rattle can of paint, and then we'll be about ready to reassemble once that's dried. Okay, now this is the bit that has been worrying me the most, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I've got to ream this guy out using that to accept this, if that makes sense. Now I'm not too worried about, I mean there's heaps of meat here, so I'm not too worried about that, but I don't want to overdo it, I don't want to underdo it, I'm even a little bit nervous about just doing it. So I suppose just go gently. Looks like the top has got to be reamed out by almost 2 mil, just by looking at how wide that is. That's just over 17, and at the moment that is around 15, so it's about 2 mil that the top is going to be reamed out by, so it's not a massive amount. Just got to give it a go. I think I'll go slow and steady. One thing that's making me a little bit nervous is how far down that is going. Zero that. I really like this little Bosch drill press, it's quite cool. Fairly small machine. One of the cool features is it has lasers, so you get a crosshair, hopefully that shows up on camera, to see where your drill bit's going to land, which is handy. Everybody likes lasers. And then the other thing is, as well as giving you your speed, you can actually do your depth. So what I've just done now is I have wound this all the way down until the drill bit hits the bench. And yeah, I've zeroed it at that. And so now when it comes back up again, I know how far down I can go before I'm actually going to start eating into the workbench underneath the drill press. Yeah, I think I've just got to go a fraction further. That's it, nicely reamed out. Beautiful. I love it when you get a new tool, and even more when it works. I wonder if that's supposed to be greased. See no harm in giving it a bit of grease. Let's do that. A little bit of grease on here. I'm just going to work off the Flintstones philosophy, a little dabble deep. And then we can install this guy back on the car. Okay, back out with the spring compressors. No Mickey to scare this time, so well, that's a pain in the backside. Yeah, so this whole internal shaft is rotating when I try to back off that nut. Now obviously it's got a hex on there for a reason. The problem is I don't have a pass-through socket. Well, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention, so vice grips on this guy. He can sit on there, and then hopefully, hold on, which way have I got to go? Other way. I think that's working. What are the chances that you're not supposed to screw that shaft round? Let's do it this way instead. Get rid of the tapered washer, we don't need him. Okay, that's probably way more grease than it needs, but hey, better too much than not enough. Which way around does the dust seal go? Well, the only way it makes sense really is for it to go on that way. I think I'm right with this orientation, but if history is anything to go by, history is plagued with cautionary tales about guys who thought they were right. I think that's correct. I'm going to run with it anyway. I think that seal goes the other way around. Because this has a fair bit of friction on it. I feel like that's not right. That's tighter than I would expect it to be. I wonder why that is. Let's pull it apart and have another look. I think I see the issue. I don't think the bearing's properly going into position. It's sitting on top of the shoulder that it's supposed to sit around. I think this, when it was compressing down, was getting caught there, and it should be down there. That feels better. Now we're away. And then it's gone stiff again. Okay, I better show you where I'm at, give you a little update on this. So this is the strut off the Legacy, the 98 Legacy. This one here is the strut off the Brumby. This is the left-hand strut. And this is our hybrid with the Legacy strut and the Brumby top hat. This one almost doesn't move. This one spins free as a bird, and this one, yeah, rotates, but not without some friction. Now I've pulled that apart about 3 times, trying to make sure that everything is aligned and that I haven't got anything getting squashed or crimped or whatever. It is a little bit of a pain in the butt because the internal shaft is just on the damper. Once you take the top hat off, that shaft obviously can come in and out, and when you're trying to do it up, you can kind of wind up chasing that shaft as it pushes back down into the shock. But I got there in the end. As you can see, I had to use some zip ties just to hold the spring in place so that it didn't misalign on the perches, and etc, etc, etc. But anyway, that's done. So I don't want to pull him apart again unless I have to. So I figured what I'd do is I'd put him to one side and I would do the left-hand front and just see how I get on with that. Hopefully that will actually basically tell me whether I'm doing it the right way or whether I've got something wrong, something misaligned in there. So I will crack on with that for now, and hopefully this goes a little bit easier. Okay, so that is fully home, spins freely. Let's back these guys off. And yes, I'm using the impact driver now for expediency's sake because it's getting late. And it's stiff. Okay, well, I am super confident that that is in the right position, but again, he's quite stiff. Yeah. Okay, so it has gone all the way down and seated. So it seems to me that actually needs a packer under it. So I'm just trying to find one the right size to do a test fit and see whether that solves our problem. Moment of truth. No, no better. No better. Okay. All right, I'll take the packer out again. Okay, so that seems to be just the way they are. I mean, that's smooth, it's just got more friction on it than what the EJ or the Legacy ones had. Maybe it's just that the Legacy ones were older bearings, have had more time to bed in, I don't know. But I'm confident that on both of these, I've got them assembled and everything is in place correctly. The bearings are all stacked nicely and the seal is where it should be. So I'm happy with that, and I'm just going to push on and see if I can get one of these in tonight. I'm really keen to actually get some parts on this before I actually call it a night for tonight. No, should have done this the other way around, shouldn't I? Let's pop him in there first. That's a bit easier, isn't it? So you can see the top one is cambered, or cammed rather. You see it's got one side's higher than the other, and that is what gives you your wheel alignment. So he goes in the top hole, and the one that's just a straight bolt goes in the bottom hole. Ooh, we're rubbing. I was warned that might happen. So we do have a clearance issue. This is what we're dealing with. The spring is hitting the back of the guard there. Now, I was warned that we would probably need to do a little bit of clearancing there. It looks like the Brumby spring has also been rubbing up against there. And what's behind there? Ew, our brake booster. This side should be fine. There's nothing blocking that. I'll just tap that out from the other side. This side, brake booster's in the way. Okay, well, I'm going to have to call it a night there, unfortunately. I was so looking forward to getting some parts on the car. Seems like it's not to be tonight. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Anyway, not to worry. I think, regardless, there's still some good progress made here today, so hang on to the wins and try not to let the knocks get me down too much. See, I think there is room in there to get the clearance we need for the struts, but the goal of this build was to try not to modify the shell any more than I absolutely have to. I wanted to only modify bits that bolt onto the shell, and therefore everything's basically reversible. But increasingly it looks like that is going to be difficult, if not impossible, if I still want to achieve my goals with this build. Plus the added complication of implications for getting this registered for use on the road, what that means for the low volume cert. I don't know. Well, I'll sign off there. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode of the Brumby build.